I don't want to call it that. And this is 4-step number 6. We're in chapter 9. All right, what did I call this for the last one? All right, so we're doing one sample hypothesis test for proportions. State. What's the first thing we do in state? Population. Is that going to change? We're dealing with proportions now? No. What was the second thing that I did for my last 4-step? Let mu. So now it's going to be, which is always going to start with what first word? What comes right after that? Null hypothesis. So it's definitely going to start with what? P. Then what's definitely going to come next? Equals. And so last time here we put number, and that's fine. I'm going to come back to it. HA still has to be P. Whatever number goes here is also going to go here. Our same options, we have less than, greater than, not equal to. The number that goes here, what would we call that? P naught, P null. I don't care if you want to write this as and show that that's a number, or just write number there, but we reference P naught within this 4-step that we didn't have to reference with mu. That's just the P that is used in the claim, like the P that is used in the null hypothesis. And then what's the last thing? Let alpha, and that works the exact same way as before. If one's not given, then we use 105. Oh, wait, not anybody. Alright, plan. My first thing is what in plan? Method. How many samples are we doing this chapter? 1. So does a one sample, what's my first decision usually? But if it is proportion, then I always use Z. So we don't have to worry about that decision. This chapter, interval or test. And then so this one is going to be. I thought we just wrote method on the state. I was worried that was the time. Okay. Alright, so check conditions. Remember, I don't ever care if you actually write words for check conditions. What's my first condition? And that one hasn't ever changed. We write what there? So I wrote kind of sloppy, but that's literally word for word the same way we've written it at the beginning. So check that it is random selection or assignment and specify which one. What is our next condition? This is the first time we actually have to think a little bit on this page. In general, how do we check for normality for proportions? N times P to some extent. So don't write anything yet. Some chapters we did this, and some chapters we did what instead? Alright, so if I use this, why do I use this one as opposed to that one? Because you don't have that one. I always want to use this one, but if I don't have it, my next best option is to use this. So in this one, we are going to have a p hat. We are also going to have this one. And this is why you need to know that what that notation is. So which is the better one to use, the one that we're claiming that we're based off of, or the one from our sample? So we are using the one that we are claiming is correct. So we have to do it with P naught. So N times P naught has to be what? And I don't know how I wrote it last time, but you can do it this way and then plug in your numbers. And then make sure it's greater than or equal to 10. Or you can write your numbers plugged in below it, I don't care. And then N times 1 minus P naught.
Still not knowing you got P naught.
It's just the P that we plug into our null hypothesis. Like, null hypothesis P equals number, whatever number is we plug in here. And then so anytime I do that, I write what with it before that.
Oh, there are at least 10 context to confidence.
Individual something that success, failure. And this comes back to one of those where your N is your sample size, but your P naught is your claim from your population. So really it's saying there would be at least 10 successes and failures in the sample. Does that make sense? So I'm not as picky here as I would have been last chapter about writing sample versus population in that point, in that part. Because it's kind of talking hypothetically there. And then I finished that with, what did you guys say? we can use normal approximation. What's my last condition? Independent. Is anything going to change there? No. So after I write independent, now I write what? 10% condition. Which is what equation?
Luckily, it's greater than or equal to 10 times lowercase m.
Then you're going to plug in your numbers, then write your sentence. And at least, and this one does need to be individuals in the population. Alright, so what's my first thing that I need to know? P hat. What else? What else? P naught. And the only other thing I would need to possibly write down is if it's 1 or 2 till. Oh, and then sometimes so anytime I'm solving for a z or t or anything like that, value minus mean goes on top. So what minus what symbol class is going to go here? That's just like our x bar minus mu, or x bar minus mu naught. That just didn't become an issue writing mu as opposed to mu naught with our last chapter, whereas here it could. And then, in general, what is our equation for standard deviation when we're dealing with proportions? In general, square root of p times 1 minus p over n. But which p do you, if I have both of them, which p do you think I should use? So this place, or this choosing to use p naught when I get to choose in both your normal condition and this part of the equation is the main thing where people miss this on this test. Because now that you have both, you get to make a decision. You have to know that you want to use that one because you have it. So I've got my test statistic value. Now I do what? Go out and shade it. And I don't know how much I wrote. Did I write much of anything for p-value last time? Like how to find it? Alright, I wrote find p-value test statistic using direction of. I don't know that you need to write this. And if I didn't write it on last one, I might not. But if you want to, you can. Most of you don't need to write that. So I use the direction of my HA to be able to find out which way to shade, find the area. You probably shouldn't need to write that. Alright, and then I compare my what to my what? And I've got a number for each one of them, and I have two options. I want to know if it is what or what. Everybody want it less than, not less than? Alright, so all we have left is conclude, which should be basically word for word the same thing we've been doing. So I have two options here. What are they? Either we fail to reject or we reject. What is it that we're either rejecting or failing to reject to do? Or what is it that we're rejecting or failing to reject? Which is going to be P equals, then you plug in your P naught value. Still, since Y. So on top it's going to be is, bottom it will be is not, and then what? So what are my two options for after re? We either do or do not. What? And I want to write this the way I wrote it last time. I don't remember the way I wrote it last time. You're going to do in context / direction? Or just in context? I don't care. I just want to keep it consistent.
They're separate. I think you said in context and direction.
Okay. So just write it the same way because we're doing the same idea. And again, that can be written as HAP is whatever number, and they're fine.